It's rivalries, it's tradition, it's history. It's the NFC North, and we're going to talk about it.
Hey yo, how's everybody doing? We are going to be doing the NFC North today.
Yep, that's right. Green Bay Packers, Detroit Lions, Chicago Bears, and Minnesota Vikings. Uh, I, these are some of the oldest teams in NFL history. Packers and Bears, obviously, go way back, and there have been approximately a million games played between these teams. This is a very popular division too. Some of them have biggest fan bases for the Bears and Packers. Once again, and yeah. So, any opening thoughts on this division, Alan?
Well, other than like at least half the division isn't beyond garbage like the
True.
last division because the
The
last division was rough.
the Bears aren't. We're about to get into that. They're definitely at the bottom. And maybe they're as bad as the Redskins, but the rest of the division is not garbage. So, and yeah, we're just going to go ahead and get started. And we're going to do this one in alphabetical order because at the top it is too close to call, so we're not going to rank them yet. And we're going to start out with the Chicago Bears. At quarterback, we have a man named Mitchell Trubisky fighting with a man named Nick Foles for this QB1 spot right now. What do we think about that?
Well, I will not be playing Mitch Trubisky. I will not be drafting him. I don't know if I'll be streaming him. I don't think his opening schedule is very good, so I probably won't even play him. Uh, I won't be drafting Trubisky. I might be picking up Foles at some point in time in the season, but this quarterback position is not great for fantasy reasons.
Right. Well, Trubisky had a big drop off last year. Yeah, it was to be foreseen, because like 2 years ago he was not that bad fantasy wise. He was 15th among quarterbacks. That was much
It's
better than
pretty.
we
It's not
expected.
great.
That
Still
was
not great.
no, but much better than we expected. And then he had a huge drop off last year. He was, let's see here, 26, so not ownable last year. And he had some weapons too. There's no excuse really. Like he's got Tariq Cohen out of the backfield and Allen Robinson, and it didn't matter. He did not have a good season, fantasy wise or in real life. And speaking of not having a good season last year, Nick
Oh,
Foles also did not have a good season.
he did not.
He did not have as good of weapons. I mean, don't get me wrong, the Bears do not have great weapons, but the Jags have even less probably. Um, and then Foles got hurt again, and that's kind of the thing there. So yeah, the just when it comes to quarterbacks with the Bears, ignore it.
I won't be touching either of these
I
players.
mean,
Maybe
no
Foles.
matter who comes out ahead in this quarterback battle, we don't really care that much. So,
Yeah.
moving on to the running back, we have David Montgomery with Tariq Cohen backing him up. David Montgomery had a fantastic rookie season last year, and Tariq Cohen is a good backup. He will catch a lot of balls.
I mean, I think David Montgomery. I'm going to say that name eventually correctly. He did good last year. He's not super high on my list. I think I have him like 23 overall. I'd have to look.
That's funny. Where do you think he finished last year among points for running backs?
12th.
22.
Oh wow, way off.
Yeah,
Way
he
off.
was. But of course, running backs were really good last year. He was right below Le'Veon Bell and Raheem Mostert, and right above Carlos Hyde and Sony Michel.
Wow. Actually, I have him a lot lower than I thought I did. Now I'm looking over my notes. I'm 53 overall.
And
So he's a lot lower.
Tariq Cohen was 44th, so that is right below flex range. But that's a guy that should be on teams. And he's not going to get a lot of touches, but it's a guy that if something happened to Montgomery and Cohen took over as the every down guy, you could definitely see him having a big year.
for like 3 games until he got hurt. Those scatbacks, they don't typically, unless you're named Austin Eckler,
I
they
was
don't
about to
last.
say
Unless,
Austin Eckler
I
took the
got
ball
you.
and ran
I
with it
knew you
last
were
year.
coming.
I was
I knew
waiting
what
for it.
I knew what you were coming with.
Yep.
But those usually those scatbacks. Who is that guy? Man, was it in Minnesota? There's a guy that was always back there, and he was always the scatback. But he got hurt as soon as he took over. It was like 2 games. He was out. Like these little guys, they don't stand up to the pounding usually. Eckler is the exception, not the rule. So if Montgomery goes down, I mean, Conan will be good for a couple games. He might make it as the starting running back. I mean, he maybe could do it, but he still has standalone value in my opinion. I think he's right below flex. I think he's going to be able to fill in some good games. And if Montgomery does get hurt, that he does have that upside. I don't think there's anybody else contesting Conan for the starting role, so that's always nice to see.
Cohen?
Conan.
Is he Conan the Barbarian?
Conan. Have him with Conan. Sweet Cohen.
Right. So Montgomery, we like him. Easily top 30 running back. He's going to be starting for somebody week 1 in every fantasy league. And Cohen, he's a guy you take, and maybe he's a bye week fill-in.
Both these players for me are going to be when you do a no RB strategy. I'm not a huge fan of it this year, but David Montgomery is, I think I said 56th overall. I think Conan in a PPR is going to be really high. He could be in the 5th round, 4th round. But I mean, he had 104 targets last year. But either of these guys, I probably won't be drafting because I'm usually going heavy RB, and by the time these range rolls around, I'm drafting wide receivers.
And that's fine, but I mean, I could see a lot of people end up with Montgomery by even if they're not doing either of those strategies. If you go running back 1st round, even running back 2nd round, and then you take a couple of receivers and maybe a tight end, I definitely see you ending up with David Montgomery as your 3rd running back. So
sure, and I don't have no problem with Montgomery being my 3rd running back.
Yep. So moving on, wide receiver Allen Robinson. It starts and ends there. Robinson, he's a guy that he's put up some great fantasy seasons, and then he's put up some seasons that weren't so great.
Pretty rough ones.
But he is coming off one of those great fantasy seasons. He finished 12th in fantasy points last year, right below A.J. Brown and Keenan Allen. So I think there's nothing not to like about this guy. I mean, you just have to expect that he's going to reproduce what he did last year. There's no reason for him not to.
I don't think the quarterback's going to affect him at all. I think Foles is probably actually going to be better. So if Foles does end up winning.
He's never had a quarterback.
So I'm just saying I think Foles is going to be better than Trubisky. So if Foles takes over, I think he'll do better. Last year he had 1,150 yards, 7 touchdowns. I am actually higher on Robinson than I think the ADP is. I have him at 32. So it's only slightly above ADP, but I think he's probably going to get an extra touchdown or 2. I think his yardage is probably going to be around the same. I think his targets are going to be around the same. So I have him right there around the Chris Carson and Juju Smith-Schuster.
Makes sense. And that's it for wide receiver.
I mean,
Anthony Miller's number 2. He'll be on rosters, like he should be owned, but
I don't like drafting like handcuff wide receivers. It always feels really bad.
Well, no, that's not really even a thing.
I know, but hey, sometimes people they're like, oh, if this guy goes down, and there's very few duos that's actually the case. Maybe Tampa Bay. If Mike Evans, Godwin probably gets more targets.
Well, you're drafting both of those guys high.
Sure,
anyway.
I'm just saying.
That's
they
a
have
bad
to be
example.
Good. They already.
Maybe last year that would be a good example of last year. But Godwin just had like a top 10 season, so let's not use that as an example.
That's fantastic.
Anthony Miller, that's the thing. Whoever his quarterback is, he's not going to be good enough for Anthony Miller to put up fantasy points. It's just not.
Nope. I won't be drafting Miller. I see a lot more swings at the fences that are better than him.
And Ted Ginn Jr., by the way, is their slot guy. That man is old.
Do you say slot guy? He's their slot guy?
Yeah.
Isn't that guy like the guy that used to run on the Cam Newton? He'd run 60 yards on the field, and Cam Newton can't throw that far, so he was just Go.
Cam Newton can throw that far. I think.
Not accurately. Have you seen that man throw? Like Ted Ginn's like moving all around. I remember this. He was like trying to move all around to catch the ball. Like it was not great.
Well, Tegan is a guy that when he was drafted, he was like the fastest guy in the NFL. But
Yeah, he was fast.
that was a long time ago now. It's another guy. Don't even draft him.
Don't touch him.
Rich. Their tight end, however, is to be spoken of. Jimmy Graham.
I'm very suspect.
We don't know. We don't know what to do with this guy. This is a guy that 5 years ago, 6 years ago, this is the best tight end in the NFL. And
Yeah.
then he left the Saints and went to Seattle, and he was still putting up good years with Russell Wilson, but nowhere close to what he was doing with Drew Brees. And then he left to go to Aaron Rodgers, and it was like, okay, this is going to be the Jimmy Graham of old.
Here we go. No.
Nope, that didn't happen. And now he's going from Aaron Rodgers to
Mitch Trubisky or Foles.
Whoever it is.
Whoever wins that battle.
So I don't know. He's fringe top 10 tight end.
Nope. I don't even. You want to know where I have him ranked? I'll tell you where I have him ranked. Are you ready?
Uh-huh.
You're gonna die. I have him ranked 31.
Second to the last. He finished 22nd in points last year with Rodgers throwing to him. So when I say fringe top 10, I was wrong.
He is 22nd last year with Rodgers throwing to them. I want you to think about that.
I was thinking he was higher.
I have him 31, right above Njoku in Cleveland and Vance McDonald in Pittsburgh.
So, in other words, don't come anywhere close to touching this guy
touching him
unless he somehow proves differently. But either way, do not draft this guy.
Yep.
And last is the Bears defense. 2 thumbs up. Absolutely. Top 5 defense. Third year in a row.
It's going to be a great. I think it's going to be a great defense. I mean, they still have.
I mean, they had a huge drop off last year, but they were going to have a huge drop off. Teams that lead the league in interceptions and sacks and all that almost never do the next year. That never happens 2 years in a row. So, so don't expect the Patriots to do that again this year. They were far and away the best defense last year. We'll get to them obviously in a later video, but you do not see that type of production from year to year from defenses. Oh. But the Bears last year were still good, even though they were not the best. The Patriots were a lot better. And let's see, where were they last year?
I have, while you're looking that up, I have Chicago at number 5, just above the Patriots at 6.
They were 20th.
Yep. I think they're gonna come back a little bit.
But I still think they're gonna be a top 10 defense. I do.
Yep. They should be drafted.
They have too many good players on that defense for them to continue to be that bad. Their biggest issue is that division, and we're about to talk about the rest of that division. But
it's a lot better than them.
But when it comes to defenses, you should really mostly be streaming anyways, unless you hit a home run and you have like the Patriots defense like you did last year.
I did that.
You'd be streaming. Like there's rarely one defense that's good enough to just start every week. Very rare you're going to get a defense like that. 2 years ago it was the Bears. 3 years ago it was the Jaguars. Last year it was the Patriots. But other than those years, you're just not going to have that kind of defense. So anyways, that's the Chicago Bears. Clearly the worst team in the division as far as fantasy goes. We're going to move on. Next up, the Detroit Lions. And it's funny, they're next in alphabetical order, but I also think they would be next in our ranking. Clearly not close to the top 2 teams in this division fantasy-wise, and I think just a little bit better than the Bears, probably more than a little bit, mostly because of starting out the quarterback position. Matthew Stafford is Mr. Consistent, Mr. Reliable. He got hurt last year. That sucked. But before he got hurt, you look at his per game fantasy numbers. He was putting up monster numbers. He was actually putting up really good numbers last year before he got hurt.
Even before, like, even if you just look at his season aggregate with him being hurt, it's like he was still a good quarterback. Yep. So I think if he stays healthy, he's going to be fantastic. I think they try to run the ball, but like they just start losing, and then it's like, all right, we're going to throw it
every year. every offseason, the
Run the
word out
ball.
of the Lions training
Run
camp
the
every
ball.
year is they're going to start running the ball.
Running the ball.
Every year they're going to be running the ball, and every year by the end of the year, it's like, oh, it turns out Stafford threw 300 passes again.
Yep.
Um,
Yep.
If you look at the aggregate, Stafford did finish 29th among quarterbacks, and so that not that good.
How many yards did he get? How many yards was that good for?
I don't know the yards, but he had
Okay.
171 fantasy points.
Because he had been like 4,000 every year for a while. Like he was doing really well.
Right below Kyle Allen of Washington and Sam Darnold of the Jets. But once again, he missed a ton of games. He missed like half the season or something.
Okay.
So we like him again this year at the bottom of the draft. If you're waiting on your quarterback, like you should,
For free.
this is one of those guys that you're looking at.
This guy is almost free. He's not quite free. He's almost free.
As
Like-
we just saw in our latest mock draft video that we uploaded yesterday, he was there in the 10th round along with Baker Mayfield and
Roethlisberger.
Roethlisberger, like quality quarterbacks. They're all right there, and that's why it's like there's no reason to draft a quarterback high. So moving on, running back. They got a rookie. They still have Kerryon Johnson, and they have Bo Scarborough, who was one of those guys that if you picked him up in like week 14, I think it was, he gave you a monster game against the Cowboys, and then that's it. He had one of those type of games. I remember that because it was like we drafted Bo Scarborough with a 6th rounder, and we dropped him for whatever reason, and Lions scooped him up and started him because Kerryon was hurt. And he, of course, scored like 2 touchdowns. But so DeAndre Swift. Once again, the Lions are saying we're gonna start running the ball now.
Promise me? Promise me this time? I believe you this time. I believe you. I believe you.
If they actually do, I think we like DeAndre Swift. But
I like Swift as long as you have some other players that are running backs that you can play early, like a Darius Geis, those guys that will start the week.
Right.
Because Swift will not be starting for the Lions unless, like, Johnson gets hurt. Now, Kerryon Johnson, I probably won't own very much of because I think he'll start week 1, and then I think he will fade into oblivion.
They didn't take Swift in the 2nd round to not play him.
Yeah, so Johnson at best has a split backfield within 3 or 4 weeks, and Swift has the upside. I mean, I preferred not drafting either, and then after the first couple of weeks when people are crying about how Swift hasn't taken over, just start trading for Swift. I'm serious. Like, people will be like, why hasn't he done it? I mean, like, he was great in the preseason and all. How often I'll go, hey, you don't like the guy, I'll give you this wide receiver 3. You want to do it? And you might get some fishing. Like, I probably won't be drafting too many of them. I'll draft Swift way more than I'll draft Kerryon Johnson. But
if for whatever reason you're doing no RB, you're going to end up with Swift every time probably. Though just like Alan said, you shouldn't be starting him. You should be looking at Mark Ingram and guys like that as your week 1 starters.
who are a lot lower.
Swift should be on your team.
Yep. And I wouldn't draft Johnson and then say I could have Swift. Like, I don't think that's a bad strategy.
DeAndre Swift is one of those guys. He's going to end up on, I think, all my teams. This is what I did last year. This is what I do every year. Like, for my bench, I stock up on rookie running backs. That's all I want is the rookie running backs for my bench. And, just hoping to hit 1 or 2. And
where do you not draft him? Like, how high? Because, those rookie running backs, they have a good, preseason. They start getting up there. Yeah. Wins too high. Like, where do you go? You know what? I can't draft Swift.
If he starts going in the 5th round, I'm not taking him anymore.
Really? Okay.
I could still see myself taking him in 6 rounds. My first bench guy,
Okay. So he's at 70 right in my rankings. So. Yeah. I mean, that's
7th, 8th round is where
you're a little higher.
But that's where I want to take. I want to take him in the 8th round, obviously.
So if James Conner's on the board, you're on Conner.
If I'm into my bench, which I am at that point, I'm probably taking Swift. It's close.
Wow, that's 56.
Close.
That's 56. Just so you know, James Conner's 56 in my rankings. Do you like Lev Bell or Swift?
I don't want Is this a question? I feel like I answered this question in our mock draft video, and I pointed out the fact that Bill was the worst running back in the league last year when it came to yards per carry.
All right. What about? Do you want him above? Let me find another running back where I'm close to him. Melvin Gordon.
Yes.
You like Melvin Gordon or
We're
Swift?
talking about my bench slots.
I'm just telling. I'm
We're
wondering
not
how high
talking
you
about
go.
none of these. I'm not starting this guy week 1, and you're comparing him to guys that I would draft to start week 1.
Mid 5. I mean, that's what I'm talking about. Lev Bell's mid 5.
James
So
Conner is the best comparison you brought up. James Conner is
he was the
definitely
lowest. He's also mid 5.
he's the closest that guy that to him out of the guys you brought up. But anyways, let's move on. Yeah, the Kerryon Johnson. If you want to own him, that's fine. If you draft him, he should be your week 1 guy. Don't be hoping for much more than that. DeAndre Swift, he's going to be owned a lot and on a lot of my teams. Anyways, moving on to wide receiver, Kenny Golladay. Whew. Beast. That man is
thumbs
a
ups.
beast. That man had what's called a breakout year last year, and
Yes.
anybody who owned him thoroughly enjoyed it. Let me see here. Third.
Yes.
He was third in points among all wide receivers last year. That's pretty good. Chris Godwin and Michael Thomas were the only two that were better.
So I have a hot take. I think he's going to do better this year.
Better. He had 183 points last year. You have him going up. Oh man, that is a hot take. Okay.
I have him scoring. In my projections 25 yards more and another touchdown. So it's just slightly higher, but it is higher than what he just did.
This guy should be one of the top wide receivers taken in your draft. Obviously, you're taking Michael Thomas and Julio Jones and DeAndre Hopkins as the first 3 receivers. But after that, this guy is in the discussion for the number 4 receiver in the draft, I think, right now.
You're gonna hate my hot takes because I'm not as high on Hopkins as I think you are. So my number 1's Thomas, number 2 is Hill, number 3 is Adams, and then my number 4 is Golladay.
Where's Julio?
Julio is number 5.
Wow.
Hopkins is number 6.
Okay, I mean that's fine. All
I
those
just have
guys,
them slightly higher.
all those guys are really good. So
they're all within a touchdown and a half. So I mean
you didn't have Evans in there either, did you? You had Godwin in there.
I have Godwin at 6. Evans is down there at 8.
Okay.
So I mean, there's some good talent at that top.
Wait till we get to the Bucks. But number 2 guy.
Ooh, fire.
Number 2 guy, Marvin Jones Jr. Also good. He finished 22nd in points last year. Was it 27th in points? He did much better 2 years ago. He was my guy 2 years ago. He finished in the top 10. I love that. But I had him all season. He was one of the guys I highlighted. If our YouTube channel was around back then, it was the guy that I would have been talking about a lot. But anyways, he is good. He's a really good number 2 wide receiver. Stafford loves him. I don't know. He's good. If you wait on wide receiver, this guy might be your WR1s in drafts.
So I have him. He missed 13, or he only played 13 games last year, so that did affect his numbers.
And he was still 27th among receivers. That's
right. So I mean, he did really well. I have him doing pretty well this year. I actually own him in a lot of the mock drafts I've been doing because I wait on wide receiver. I draft a lot of running backs, but I've been owning him a lot. If I don't take the number 1.
Do you know who was right below him in points last year? It's 2 other guys that also missed a couple of games. These 3 guys actually are all in the top 10 in average fantasy points per game among wide receivers. It's also 2 guys that you very recently mentioned in this video.
Jones and Hopkins?
No, those guys did not miss games as far as I can remember.
Oh, you're talking about earlier.
Tyreek Hill.
And
Devontae Adams.
both those guys are my 2 and 3, so I think they're going to do really well
You
this year.
obviously think they're going to play 16 games and put up the same numbers they
I
were.
think they will. I mean, I can't predict everything, but I have them statted for 16. I have Jones statted for 15. So, but I think I
I mean, it's impossible to stat for injuries.
I do. Like when you're
They're
injured a
random.
bunch, I start taking off games. So with Galladay though, I have him. If Galladay were to get hurt, Marvin Jones would be a wide receiver 1, and so I like Jones a lot. So
Really good. Take him and be happy with him. Danny Amendola is now their flex wide receiver. Mm,
don't particularly care.
nope, don't really care. Maybe he ends up at the bottom of my bench sometimes.
Yeah, it's possible.
They also have Geronimo Allison. Don't own him.
Don't care.
Tight end, T.J. Hawkinson. Where do you have him?
I have him at 14, which is right below Gronkowski.
Hot take right there. I'm not. Let's just say that's a hot take. Where do you think he ranked last year?
Oh man, I'm gonna go 8th.
32. He was.
No, he wasn't. What did he hurt? He had to be
no,
hurt.
He averaged 4.1 fantasy points per game. So
I just have him.
I don't know if he got hurt. It's not right in front of me, but I have 4.1 fantasy points per game. He should be nowhere close to your roster.
I will not be drafting him. I mean, at
Yep.
14 on tight end scale,
This
it
guy
basically makes him
This guy
streamable.
was pretty high draft pick not too long ago, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, that's what I'm saying is like tight ends barely
they
perform when
took
they
him
first
number
come in.
8 overall. They clearly had plans for this guy, though, right?
That's what I'm saying.
I guarantee you they're looking to get him more involved in the offense this year, so his numbers should go way up.
So I think the targets will go a little more this year towards him. I mean,
Yeah.
last year they drafted him really high, so he's going to have to take a step forward. I do think that comes at the cost of Jones, but I think that he still has that standalone value, and I think they're going to be throwing the ball a bunch. I don't see them running the ball. I just don't. I know
Yeah.
they really say they want to, and they all love doing that. But when you run the ball 3 times and punt 3 or 4 times, you're gonna start throwing it again because you're down by 28 to something.
So moving on. Now you might be asking yourself right now, their offense was pretty good last year, at least in the air. How did they finish with such a bad record? And then you look at the defense, and don't even look at the defense. They were awful last year, just awful. They finished 30th in points, fantasy points. So yeah, don't even. I don't even stream their defense.
26
right,
is where I
right,
have them.
right now,
26.
they're not even streamable. So don't even
There.
think about it. So yeah, that's the Lions. Pretty clearly third in this division. But they certainly have some good receivers.
Yep,
That's for
I
sure.
like the receivers. That's pretty much where I'm going. And then Swift.
Yep, Swift. Yep. Moving on in alphabetical order. Next up, we have the Green Bay Packers. We've been looking forward to this one. Let me tell you. Starting at quarterback is Aaron Rodgers, and backing him up now is high draft pick Jordan Love. Who saw this coming? This was out of left field. I doubt even Packers fans, even the most diehard Packers fans, thought that their team was going to go out and draft a quarterback in the second round with Aaron Rodgers coming off the NFC Championship game. It's not like they had a bad year, right? Like
He wasn't great in fantasy, but
speaking of, so I did say that he wasn't as bad last year as you might think, and I am going to back that up right now. He was top 10 last year.
was he? He was 10.
He was
Yeah.
10th.
I looked him up.
Now, everybody grades him on a scale of Rodgers to 10, and there is a reason for that. The man's name is Aaron Rodgers. He was the king of fantasy football for like 6 years straight. He was the number 1 quarterback every year, and he was still being drafted as recently as last year. I think he was like number 2 quarterback after Mahomes, and yeah, he fell off. Well, he didn't even fall off last year. He had a better year last year than he did the year before. 2 years ago, he wasn't that good, and I think everybody expected a big bounce back, but instead they decided to start running the ball a lot more, and
A
obviously
lot.
they were very successful doing so. They relied heavily on their defense and their run game, but he still had a top 10 season. He was still fantasy starter last year. He was not as bad as everyone is saying he was, and he should still be drafted as a QB1. There's no reason to think he can't now have a bounce back year again. It's still Aaron Rodgers, and especially since they drafted Jordan Love. You telling me that guy's not fired up to prove everybody wrong right now?
I mean, he had, you look at his stats, he still wasn't bad at his touchdown interception ratio. He was 26 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. That's fantastic when it comes to the ratio. He just didn't throw that many touchdowns like he usually does, right? Aaron Jones was like chomping them up. They were running the ball a bunch. This is a team. This is what the Lions want to be doing. This is what the Lions want. But they don't have Aaron Jones. So
no, they don't.
That makes it a little more difficult.
Maybe DeAndre Swift is Aaron Jones. We don't know yet. We didn't know Aaron Jones was Aaron Jones until last year. So
I've been saying free Aaron Jones for like a year.
Everybody in fantasy football has been saying free Aaron Jones for years, but we didn't know he would be this good.
Right, he's been good.
So yeah, don't draft him too high. There's still people out there who, by the way, we very recently uploaded a video, top 5 rookie mistakes, and Aaron Rodgers is the picture of the video because we talk about people that still draft Aaron Rodgers way too high. They're expecting the Aaron Rodgers of old. He's not the Aaron Rodgers of old. He will not be the number 1 quarterback in fantasy football. You could call it a hot take if you want. I don't think it's even a hot take. That guy will not finish anywhere close to number 1, I think. Let's see here.
No, he won't be.
Do you know how many points behind Lamar Jackson he was? Of course, everybody was over 100 points behind Lamar Jackson anyways, but he was 140 points behind Lamar Jackson last year.
Like Aaron Rodgers used to have a floor of running, and he's not doing that as much anymore.
He doesn't need to. He's got Aaron Jones now.
Right.
That was the thing. He never had a running back that he could rely on. Well, at least Mike McCarthy would never let him have a running back he could rely on. But I love McCarthy. He's now a Cowboys coach, and anybody's better than Garrett. Anyways, back to the Packers.
Homerism.
Just had to throw that one in. Moving on to a man that we both really like. Again, Aaron Jones. You said you've been saying for Aaron Jones. I was all over Aaron Jones last year. You can confirm this.
You were. Yeah, you were.
I was like, I'm loving Aaron Jones, and I drafted him in all my leagues. And of course, he did insanely well. Let's see here. Where did he finish last year? 3rd. He finished 3rd in points.
He did really well.
Among running backs. He was a monster from beginning to end.
So I have him lower than 3rd.
Yeah.
I have him 10th. I think he scored it in.
It's really low, but as we keep talking about, the running backs are so good right now.
They're very good. He had scored 19 touchdowns last year. That's not happening again. I'm sorry.
Probably
again, not hot take.
No, that's not even a hot take. Those touchdown totals do not carry from season to season.
And if you take off, I have him at 13 touchdowns this year. If you take off those 6, he's not 3rd. He's not 4th.
And
he's not 7th.
You're clearly expecting guys like Saquon Barkley to have a big bounce back year.
Yeah.
You think Zeke will do better than him, and Zeke was right behind him. He was 4th in points. So, yeah, I'm guessing you have Joe Mixon ahead of him.
Yep, Joe Mixon, Nick
Alvin
Chubb.
Kamara, probably.
I have Josh Jacobs ahead of him right now. So that's it. That's the list. He's above Kenyon Drake, Sanders, Austin Eckler. So he's still. It's not like he's bad. I just have him.
He's gonna be your RB1 a lot.
Yes.
And you're gonna love it. Yeah. And if he's your RB2, you're going to absolutely love it, as I could see that happening quite a bit. If you're drafting at the end of the first round and you go running back, he's your RB2 maybe.
Yeah, I could see myself drafting Aaron Jones near the end or the beginning of the second and going running back and really being happy where my team is. So I'm happy with that.
Yeah, this guy was a beast last year. No reason to think he's not going to be a beast again, although the touchdown total will go down. So don't
For sure.
expect the same points. Speaking of beasts. Oh, well, hold on. Before we move back, Jamal Williams is his backup. And so Jamal Williams,
Poor
he's
guy.
a really good handcuff. If you're
Yeah.
taking Aaron Jones and you are, I believe, are in handcuffs, as I am, take Jamal Williams with one of your last picks. Just put him at the end of your bench.
Yeah, I love drafting other people's handcuffs at the end of the
Yeah.
bench, and so
You'll be drafting Jamal Williams if you don't have Aaron Jones.
yeah, right.
And
So yeah, I could see myself having him at the end of my draft. This is one of those guys. If I targeted him, he could be the last pick of the last round before my kicker. I know Burris hates when I say that, but because he wants me to pick the defense the second to last round. But sometimes I like picking the defense one higher because if I'm going to take this guy, no one's going to take him. So I'm like not worried about him getting it, and I get a little higher on defense.
and that is fine because we were in all the same leagues together, and I enjoy watching you do that. So I can take my defense lower and get the guy I want before you get him.
Yeah, I took the Pats last year. I upgraded last year and got the Pats last year. It worked out. It was okay.
Yeah, okay. You only took them because the Bears are already off the board.
Yeah, they were. I was in shock. No, there were two teams off the board. They were the third on my list. I was like,
Yep.
who are drafting defenses 4 rounds before the end? Like, come on.
And they drafted a guy. They drafted a second-round running back. They have one of those rookies. But as of right now, he's buried on the depth chart. If I don't have Aaron Jones, I am taking this guy on my bench instead of Jamal Williams. If I have Aaron Jones, I'm taking Jamal Williams as a But if I do not have Aaron Jones, I'm going to take this guy.
Sure.
AJ Dillon. He has all the upside, but will he make it on the field this year? Only time.
I don't think
We
so,
don't know.
but we'll see.
Anyways, so like I was saying before, speaking of beasts, they have Devontae Adams. Before he got hurt last year, he was ridiculous, putting up ridiculous numbers. Then he missed a couple of games, so he finished lower than we expected.
He still got 1,000 yards. He played 12 games and got $1,000.
Yeah, and
12 games, got $1,000.
2 years ago, he also was really good.
Yes.
I mean, he's just a guy that now is all of a sudden consistently a top 5 wide receiver in the NFL now. You know, so
yeah, when they throw it, it's going to him a lot.
when they throw it, yeah.
When they throw it.
2 years ago, he finished third in points, and last year he was on a very similar pace before he got hurt. So, he is without a doubt at this point a top 5 wide receiver. Take him as such. He's top 5 on Allen's list, top 5 on my list. He's fantastic. Be very happy if you end up getting him. And then the wide receiving core all but ends there.
I mean, the rest is flyers.
Allen, Lazar, Devin
I like
Funchess.
Lazar more than most, but
They have the 3-word name guys still: Equinamius St. Brown and Marcus Valdez-Scantling. Those are their 4th and 5th receivers. Both of those guys have had like 1 or 2 fantasy relevant games in the last couple of seasons. That's it. They shouldn't be owned otherwise.
I won't own any of these guys except for maybe Lazar at the end if I want him. Like, again, I'm going to go through at some point in time and narrow down the last 2 guys in my draft. And when I do that, he might be one of them, but I don't know yet.
Not much else to say here. So moving on to tight end. They used to have Jimmy Graham. They do not anymore. They are replacing him with Jace Sternberger. Where do you have Jace Sternberger on your list?
Well, so since he's not in the top 10, he's going to be undraftable. I have him at 28th.
All right. Let's see here. Where did he finish last year? He was the backup last year, so let's give him a break. I haven't found him yet, and I'm at 50, so I'm going to stop looking. Who knows? Maybe he'll have a good year. But right now, we don't know, so we're not coming close to drafting him. And
I won't be on him.
Neither should you. So, moving on, defense. Their defense was much improved last year. They finished 16th among points, but it's a lot better than the year before, funny enough.
Yeah, it was.
They are a streamable defense.
Yeah, I have them at 19. They have some rough games. They're in a good division. I mean, I think that there's going to be some points scored. Um, so I have them down at 19, but that means they're streamable. I mean that 10 to 20 range is who you're pulling your streams from. So he's right at the end of it.
He,
The team,
they,
they.
and that's it for
They're
the
all
pack.
numbers to me. They're all numbers for me. Like I say he because the rest of the teams are he's. Like all these people, I do not care. Like
It's hard not to. So that's it for the Packers. They are one of the best teams in the NFL fantasy wise. They have a top 10 quarterback, a top 5 running back, and a top 5 wide receiver. So, or I guess a top 10 running back, but there's very few other teams that have 3 guys that are as good as that. So they are definitely one of the better teams in the NFL. Moving on to the Vikings. You're going to hear a very similar story, however. That's probably why he thought I was already. So, Kirk Cousins. How do we feel about Cousins this year?
I do not feel very happy about him. I have him at 19, which means that he could be streamable, but not most likely. I mean, that 10 to 20 range, that back end is streamable quarterback. So when he plays a bad defense, I will probably try to own him. But otherwise, I will not be drafting him.
Yeah, he's a guy who's had good fantasy seasons before, top 10 seasons. But last year, he was only 18th. And he had 2 really good receivers. So I definitely say it's fair to have him there. He did lose Stephon Diggs. So,
Yep.
His numbers will probably go down a little bit. And he has a lot of tough competition in that 11 to 20 range. Like last year, you're looking at Aaron Rodgers, Matt Ryan, Tom Brady, Jared Goff, Jimmy Garoppolo, Philip Rivers, Ryan Fitzpatrick, Derek Carr, Kirk Cousins, and Baker Mayfield. That's who was in that range. And that's where he's at.
Right.
And that's the backup quarterback range, by the way. And a lot of the time you're not going to have a backup quarterback, and you shouldn't. But
You shouldn't.
he is definitely streamable against the correct defenses. And if you're in a 2 QB league, you're going to have him.
Yeah, he'll be owned in a 2 QB league, a super flex league, but in normal redrafts, 10, 12 teams, he won't be owned.
Which, by the way, be on the lookout for our next mock draft video. It will be us doing a mock draft for a 2 quarterback league. So be on the lookout for that. It should be a fun video. So moving on, running back, Dalvin Cook.
Beast.
When he plays.
When he plays. He played 14 games last season.
Record high.
14 games. That's a lot of games.
Before he got hurt, he was the unquestionable number 2 running back last year. He was really good. Even missing 2 games, he still finished 5th. He was RB5. Only Derrick Henry and Christian McCaffrey finished with a higher average fantasy points per game than Dalvin Cook, and Henry finished on a tear. Obviously Henry was great all season, but he finished on a tear, and that's when he passed up Cooks. As long as he stays healthy, this guy is really good. He's in any game he plays, he's going to put you up RB1 numbers week after week, and you should draft him as so.
I have him very high.
Yeah.
Yep.
He's a top.
I have him very high. I had him. I think I had told Chris this a while back. I said besides McCaffrey, if you said that Dalvin Cook played all 16 games, I'd have him at number 2. But you don't know. I mean, you got Elliott. Yeah. Elliott and Barkley are going to more likely play 16 games than this guy. But this guy was just putting up not record, but fantastic numbers. He had 1,135 yards rushing, another 500 yards receiving. I mean, that's what you want in your RB1. Like, you want a stud.
How many yards rushing?
1,135.
1,135. Got it.
He had 13 touchdowns. I mean, which, by the way, should tell you what I mean by Aaron Jones coming down to 13.
19.
I'm saying he's going to come down to Dalvin Cook touchdown range. I don't think that's crazy to say.
Yep.
So,
and Dalvin Cook did then 14 games.
Yep. So yeah, that's all I'm saying is, like, I think Dalvin Cook, I have him very high. I have him at 4 right now behind Barkley and Elliott. So I have him above Henry, above Kamara.
And that's higher than his ADP right now. So if you are drafting at the bottom of the first round, you are going to be absolutely thrilled at the 7 spot to be taking him as your RB1.
Yeah, I have him 5th overall. The only wide receiver I have him that is above him is Michael Thomas.
Oh, you have him 5th overall among all players. Wow.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
I have
And
him high.
I do believe that's higher than his ADP.
Yes.
But yep, he's a really good RB1. Be happy taking him if you're at the bottom of the first round. You shouldn't be taking him if you're at the top 5 of the first round. I mean, I guess maybe 5th, but there's
You don't have to do what I say. You could lose. That's fine.
obviously, yeah. And it's up to you. There's so many really good running backs near the top. If you want a guy that always plays 16 games over a guy that has never played 16 games, nothing wrong with that.
I wouldn't fault you. A lot of the time in my first pick, I'm on risk aversion, and this guy does have some risk. But the fact that he played 14 games last year showed me, he can at least do it. People say injury risk until they're not. So last year he played 14. I have him playing around the same amount of games, maybe the whole season. So we'll see.
And even if you're not a handcuff guy, if you draft Dalvin Cook, you should definitely take a look at drafting Madison. Alexander Madison. Yeah, Dalvin Cook goes down, Madison's the guy.
Yeah, this is a guy that I will. If I own Dalvin Cook, I might be taking him. I'm not a big handcuff guy, but their focal point offense is running the ball. They don't like putting it all on Cousins. And so if Madison, and he's a good running back, so if Madison does come, he's proven he can do it. I'll own Madison if I own Cook. Again, I'm not a huge handcuff guy. You could probably give me 5 teams in the league in which I want to own the backup guy if I own their top guy, and this is one of them.
Yep, absolutely. And moving on, wide receiver. We have another very good player, Adam Thielen. Let's see here.
Diggs is gone. Thielen will thrive.
Free Adam Thielen? Is that a movement?
Stop it.
Okay, let's see here. Okay, he did not have as good of a year last year as I was.
He only played 10 games.
That would be why. I forgot that
he only played 10 games. I don't see that happening very likely again.
He's been relatively injury-free. He averaged 8.4 points per game. That is not Adam Thielen numbers. You look at him 2 years ago when he didn't get hurt and he wasn't battling injuries. He finished second. What was it?
He was high. He was
very high. Seventh. He finished 7th 2 years ago.
He's been playing at a very high level. Sometimes there's a drop off and Diggs took over, but there's no Diggs anymore. So he's
you have to believe his numbers. Oh, absolutely, back in the top 10 numbers. Especially if he plays all 16 games, no reason to think he won't.
I have him at 12. So I mean that's top 10 in a 12-team league.
Yep, absolutely, and that's WR2 right there. So, and you'd be thrilled having him as your WR2.
Oh yeah, if I were to own him as my wide receiver 2, I'd be thrilled. My wide receiver 1, I could see it if I went heavy running back. But as my wide receiver 2,
and which you're doing a lot. So I definitely think he might end up on your team as a WR1 several times this year.
Yep, probably.
Same here. I like Adam Thielen a lot.
I could see myself going running back. I have Thielen 31 overall. Probably 30. It's close with 30. So, but I have him right behind Brown and Eckler. So it depends. If I go running back, I could easily see myself owning Thielen at the beginning of the third.
Moving on, Justin Jefferson. He is a rookie. They drafted him in the first round with the 22nd overall pick. He's clearly Stephon Diggs' replacement. At least they're hoping he will be. He is definitely a guy you're going to want on your team, at least on your bench somewhere.
On your bench, way down.
Oh yeah, and that's where he's been drafted right now. His ADP is way down. So, but
I don't see too much value. I mean, again, these are flyers.
Draft and stash, yeah. He's a draft
We're
and stash.
really early in the season of preparing for fantasy football, so I haven't dived in deep down into how
Into
much is
into
Jefferson worth. But I mean, he could be in that list again of people I see at the end of the draft.
he will at least be picking up a ton of targets right away. That's, I mean, so that gives him a ton
Sure,
of
he gives him
upside.
some value. Yeah, does give him some
There's
value.
there's no reason he wouldn't be getting most of Diggs' targets because the guy below him is Tajay Sharp. So
Yeah.
this is a two-man band at the wide receiver position. Only two guys to even look at here. So moving on, Kyle Rudolph.
Oh, breaks my heart where I have him ranked.
Where is he on you?
Breaks my heart. See, I have drafted me some Kyle Rudolph, or
I know.
I picked up some Kyle Rudolph. I don't know if I drafted him, but I've played him before. But right now I'm at 26. There are a million tight ends on this team. There are a million
Uh,
tight ends on this team.
yep, there are.
There are
Um,
like 3 new tight ends. Like
where
I think
where
they're
do you
carrying
think
14.
where do you think Kyle Rudolph finished last year?
I don't know. I don't
Four-
know, but there are 4 teams
14.
on 14. So here's the deal: they went and drafted a tight end. They went and drafted. I think they went and drafted a tight end. They picked up a tight end. They ended up with another tight end. They're like pulling tight ends from everywhere. You know what that tells me? They don't want Kyle Rudolph. They don't want him.
You know you say that. So between Irv Smith Jr., Tyler Conkin, and Brandon Dillon, which of those guys are you super afraid of taking targets on?
No, I'm saying why. Why do you own 4 tight ends? If you like your tight end, why do you own 4 tight ends?
Competition?
No one
Competition.
owns 4 tight ends. I'm just saying, like,
Well,
if
either way, he didn't finish in the top 10 last year.
I will not own this man.
Probably won't finish the top 10 this year, and you should never have more than one tight end on your roster. So he's not going to be on your roster until a bye.
Do you know what
bye
he
week
ended up
game.
with last year? 377 yards. The only thing that saved him was 6 touchdowns.
Well, isn't that what saves most tight ends?
That's fair. But still, I don't think he's there. I don't think he's there this year. I think he fades into oblivion.
It's fine. Kyle Rudolph is the kind of a guy that he never excited you before, anyways.
No.
Moving on, defense. Yes, very
Sure.
good. Always good. Always.
They'll be
very
drafted.
They finished sixth last year, and yes, you should. Obviously, once again, you should be streaming your defense, but this is a defense that you should stream a lot. This defense is incredible, especially when they're playing the Bears, which they get to play twice.
Here's my issue with the Vikings. I have them 8th, and one of the reasons why is their schedule is not great.
Well, yeah, they
Their
have to play the
rough.
Packers and the Lions twice, and those are two pretty good offenses. So
their only easy game, per the stats laid out is Tampa Bay, and that doesn't even feel right. Right? Let that one sink in.
Well, they get to play the Bears twice. How are those not easy games?
The Bears are neutral. The Bears are neutral offense when it comes to they're in the middle of the pack. So here's their season right now: Green Bay, Indianapolis, Tennessee, Houston, Seattle, Atlanta, Green Bay, Detroit, Chicago, Dallas, Carolina, Jacksonville.
Carolina is going to be awful. That is, you should be starting the Vikings defense in every single league.
That's week 12. We'll know if they're going to be bad or not. Right?
Carolina
we'll
is starting over.
I'm just saying.
They no longer have a man named Cam Newton on their roster.
Now we are comparing. This is last year's attack stats, right?
Okay.
So far,
obviously,
Tampa
you're streaming
Bay.
them against the. I don't care what your stats say. The Bears' offense is not going to be good. Panthers' offense is not going to be good. So that's 2 streamable games right there.
Tampa Bay is the.
Continue.
Tampa Bay is the supposedly good one. That's not good.
Scratch that off of your list. Tampa Bay is no longer in the good matchups range.
New Orleans.
Continue.
Oh no, that's the list. I just gave you all the teams they play.
Okay. Well, they play the Bears twice, and then they play the Panthers. So that's 3 weeks. I would love streaming them.
They're still, but the problem is they're ranked 8th. They're a good defense.
How good do you think Houston's offense is going to be this year without DeAndre Hopkins? I don't know.
I mean, I don't know.
Might be straining them there.
What I'm saying is like
Hey,
I
you're
have
the
them
one that
ranked.
wanted to go down their schedule. I'm just diving a little bit deeper into that.
I have
You're
them
ranking them
ranked.
based off last year. I'm telling
No,
you
no,
how
no.
good they're going to be this year,
I'm
and
saying
that's all we care about.
I ranked them 8th, but I'm still worried about them. Right? I'm saying I have them ranked 8th. They should be draftable, but I'm saying don't go crazy
But
on them.
all right, who's their week 1 opponent? Do you have that in front of you?
Yeah, it's take me 3 seconds because I have them right here. I had it up. It's Green Bay. You can
So
play
they're
them against
not.
Green Bay.
They're actually not draftable.
I mean, if you're gonna draft
Let somebody else draft them and take a
that's what I'm
defense that
saying.
has a
Like,
good week 1 matchup.
here's the deal. If you are new to fantasy football and you don't know how to stream, you can play these guys every week.
Yeah.
They're gonna get you some
Yep.
points. But if you actually want to win and you want to stream games, even though I have them ranked 8th in the total points, I won't be playing them because they're going to get you 5, 6,
As
7
we pointed
over and
out
over.
in our latest mock draft video, take the Chargers. They're
Yeah,
playing the
Chargers are fantastic.
Cincinnati Bengals week 1.
Yeah.
So
So
if you're
anyway,
streaming, the Chargers are the defense for you. So we're gonna wrap it up there. So who do you like better, the Packers or the Vikings? So who do we like better here? I like the Packers a little bit better. After Aaron Rodgers, I think is better than Cousins, and I think obviously the running backs are really close.
yep.
And
Slide
then
edge
Devontae
to meet
Adams
volumes.
is probably quite a bit better than Adam Thielen, right?
Yep.
So I think the Packers are number 1, right?
I mean, I still think it's close.
It's really close.
I think it's
And the
really
Vikings
close.
defense is better than the Packers, so it's really close.
Yeah. If I were to go
I don't
nod
care that
wise,
much about defense. The
yeah,
tight ends are a wash because we're not owning them.
we're not owning either of them.
But I think the quarterback makes the difference. Rodgers is clearly better than Cousins.
Yeah, I think the quarterback is clearly better. I have Cook better than the running back. I think the running back's one of the most important, but I agree with you that Adams is better than Thielen, and I think that makes a huge difference.
Yep. So we are agreed. It sounds like Packers 1, Vikings 2, Lions 3, Bears 4 for this division. Solid division.
Very solid.
Very solid.
I will own a lot of
teams
these
are
players.
Really good. The top 2 teams in this division are 2 of the top teams in the entire NFL when it comes to fantasy, I think. And we're going to find that out. At the end of all these divisions, we are going to do a master list of all top 32 teams. We're going to rank them all for you. And
Did you say 2? Did you say you think they're in the top 2?
No, I said I think they're 2 of the top teams.
Oh, okay.
Right now, I have not.
I was about to say Tampa Bay,
list.
Kansas City. Like, I could name some of the ones.
We will see. We will see. And yeah, so that's it for this video. Please make sure to like and subscribe and hit that little bell button. That way you get notified of all our videos from now on. And make sure, comment down below. Do you disagree with our rankings? Let us know. Do you guys think that the Vikings are better than the Packers? Maybe we're underrating the Lions. Maybe the Bears are a lot better than we know. So let us know what you guys think, and we will see you guys next time.
Yes, please let us know if you're a Bears Homer fan. Please do that.
Very fun.
Bye.
See you guys next time.